What do you regret finding out? I've heard the ringing for so long that I just assumed everyone heard it. When I finally went to the VAP and they put the headphones on me for the audiology exam, I couldn't believe how deafening the ringing really was in the silence. After I talked with them and found out that it wasn't normal, I was shocked. It seems to get worse when I'm really stressed out, but I don't know if it really is or if it's just my imagination. Edit. Thank you everyone for all of your suggestions and support. Y'all are great. I always blamed my best friend's erratic behavior on mental health issues until one day I found her passed out on my toilet and realized that her behavior always got erratic after bathroom visits. Unfortunately, she may have mental health issues, but an addiction to certain drugs was the reason for most of her behavior. There was one girl in our friend group with the hyper/crazy/fun mom, and when we were about 18 one other girl went so. Name's mom was on cocaine the entire time, right? And the rest of us were like, oh my god. That I'm not very smart. I'm not dumb or dim, but I've really had to come to terms with the fact that not only am I not the smartest man in the room, I'm probably damn near the stupidest. Just how close my pilonidal cyst, a hole that forms where your tail was as a fetus, was to making contact with my spine. I had her open wound for a year because the first surgeon was a fucking joke and it ripped immediately and he told me to take Sid baths to help it close up naturally. By the time 11 months later I got the second surgery, it was apparently only millimeters from tunneling to my spine, which could have caused me infection or death. I wish I never knew how close it was. BC, I'm terrified it's still tunneling on the inside, even though completely closed now on the outside. Found out my girlfriend told my parents I was extremely suicidal, and they responded, so? What do you want us to do about that? And they never brought it up again. Few months after they kicked me out for textbook depression, I found out my mom cashed out my Upland program that froze college tuition prices for me at cost of 1991 pricing. My grandmother set up and put money in. She used the $25,000 in it to pay off eyes from problems she incurred due to drug addiction. Is that even legal? I would see what I can do about getting them prosecuted at that point. I didn't meet my dad until I was 15. It was in secret, since my mother wanted nothing to do with him. Within the first 3 sentences exchanged, he felt the need to tell me that I was conceived on a beach in July during the last time they had sex. I was the product of going away fucking a relationship doomed before my conception. He followed it up with, we were good at 2 things, me and your mom. Fighting and fucking. Unfortunately we were fighting more than we were fucking, so it stopped being worth it. 10 years later and this is still how I get my family history. My dad informed me when I got back from Iraq that I was the reason he and my mother got a divorce. I never really wanted to join the military anyways, and it fucked me up big time. They had financial troubles and my mom sent me care packages quite a lot. Apparently, that put them into bankruptcy, and if I hadn't joined it wouldn't have happened. I just wanted to get out of that house because it was like I didn't exist. Edit. I've never received this much support regarding this issue. Thank you. For the first time I think I really believed it when I told myself it wasn't my fault. I'm smiling so hard through the tears. Seriously, thank you. Edit. Thanks for the award. I read every comment, even though I didn't reply to all. I'm so seriously happy right now, and I don't feel like I deserve to be at all, but hell, I'll take it. That my best friend took her own life. She told me she was moving and gave me all her stuff because she said she had a furnished room where she was going. I hadn't heard from her in a while and she never answered my texts, so I looked up her name to see if she had an accident. Nope, it was suicide. The kicker is she had talked me out of it back in 2014 and I wasn't able to be there for her. Ita, thank you all so much for your kind words. They mean more than you know. I love all of you. Ita, I'm doing better after reading all your kind words and messages. I wish I could reply to each one personally. Thank you again for your kindness. My mother died in a car accident when I was 3. I found out from a newspaper article years later that it was her fault. She wasn't paying attention and crossed the yellow line and ended both her life and that of the person in the other car. Same happened to me, although it wasn't my mom, it was my grandpa. He died in 1955 and neither my dad or I ever knew the circumstances. Found out from old newspaper articles that he was drinking and driving. Although it wasn't illegal then or looked down upon as much, I hate this feeling of disappointment and I wish my dad hasn't found out either. My mom is 56, I'm 28, and her husband is a 37-year-old guy that dated me when I was 14 and he was 23. He was the pastor's son, so my parents, despite being super strict, would let me go hang out with the guy, and I thought he was so cool because he was older, had a car and all that. Looking back, I've always realized how creepy he was. When my mom told me they were dating, I begged her not to, told her about how we had messed around etc. a long time ago. Then she decided to go and marry the motherfucker. I didn't go to the wedding, but me and my mom are on good terms now. The worst part is that my 2 kids love him and call him poor and has barely older than me or my husband. I wish every day they would get a divorce. Just how disgusting of a human being I was and am. When I was a kid, I knew nothing. My mom is a single mother and she didn't take proper care of me. I took showers once a week or less. I was messy. I was ugly. It was bad all around. Other kids called me names, avoided me, bullied me. I never knew why. Once I grew up, I realized just how bad it actually was. Today I'm aware of 2 things where my childhood went wrong and that in 10 years I'll realize all the wrong things I'm today. Edit. Well, this sure wasn't a comment I'd have expected to explode. I want to add some things here. My mother had her hands way too full. Our father died at the worst time possible. We were poor. She had my sister to push to faculty and me to elementary school. I don't blame her for what happened, and things are different today. I don't feel shame or pity for what I went through. There were far worse things that happened to me. The thing is, when I look back, sometimes I think I was happier when I wasn't old enough to understand. So please, don't pity me. Life is better than it was before, and most importantly, now it's only in my hands. Was backpacking and in Perth one night out, one landed on my neck. I thought it was a small bug because I only felt its small feet. But when I reached for it, I felt how large it was and it panicked and dug its feet into my neck. As I pulled it off, I could feel my skin stretching as its feet plucked away from my neck. I threw it on the ground and stepped on it. But nothing is worse in Australia than sandflies. Those fuckers will follow you for blocks, going from your ear to your eye to your nose to your mouth. Anywhere where there is moisture, and they're so fast. If you think black flies in North America are fast, you haven't seen a sandfly. That my mom knew my stepfather was abusing me and did nothing. Edit. I wish I could respond to everyone, but to be honest, I don't know that I have the emotional strength. This was a random comment that I did not expect to get much attention. Thank you to those who have given support and kind comments. Fuck you to those who have said I should have done something more as a 10-year-old kid, and I'm so sorry to those who have had to deal with the same thing. I wish I could fix it for everyone. I know that today has been painful reading everyone's comments and stories for me. I'm so sorry. I'm going to take a nap and turn off my notifications. When I was around 10 years old, I was sitting on the couch and my older sister came towards me with a knife and stabbed a hole in the cushion about a foot from my leg. She pulled the knife out and immediately told me not to tell Dad. I was young and naive, and my sister had kind of twisted sense of humor, so I really didn't know what to think. It definitely did some damage, now that I look back on it. Years later, my sister announced that she had planned to attack me with the knife, but chickened out at the last moment. At this point I had all but moved on from the incident, but this brought it all back and then some. Looking on my ex-GF's phone when we were on a trip to Ithaca, New York. I would take any physical pain I've had so far over that I felt when I saw the things on there. Totally gut-wrenching. I wanted to marry her. Edit. I tried to forgive her and worked very hard to do so. At the end of the year I was ready to start a new life and put it all behind. Got a job in Colorado. We had talked about going there, and it was my dream since childhood. The day after I signed a lease for a nice apartment, she ghosted me. I tried hopelessly to reach her, calling dozens of times a day. She dumped me over an Instagram message after about a month of this. After trying so hard for her and finally feeling better, she ended it that way and left me completely alone 1700 miles from anyone I knew. Thought pretty hard about offing myself a few times. That I was the arsehole in my relationships. Turns out I've become the person I was afraid of becoming my entire life. My dad. A jealous dude with anger management issues who never sees his own faults. To be fair though, I've come a long way since my best friend straight up told me what I've become and that if I stayed that way she was going to stop being friends with me. I guess I don't regret finding out because it helped me get my shit together. However, the fact that you were the asshole and you were the reason some of your friends cut ties with you is a pretty hard pill to swallow. Especially knowing that you'll never get to make it up to some of them because it's been years. Why should they care at this point? After my dad died, my mom before she died said he always felt my struggles were because of him accidentally dropping me down the stairs as a baby. I struggled in school with math and physically I have a form of muscular dystrophy, but we didn't know that at the time, so he believed my physical issues were his fault. It apparently ate him up and helped fuel parts of his depression. I didn't need to know that. Edit. Jeepers. Didn't expect this reaction. Thank you everyone for your kind words. My parents did their best, and I hold no ill will towards them. My mother didn't tell me to hurt me or my dad's memory. She just wanted to share. I have Becker's muscular dystrophy, a cousin of Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. Mine MD is like the diet right of MD. I get spasms and fall randomly. I was diagnosed after he died, so he never found out. The only anger I live with is 1. My dad died before sharing his meatloaf recipe. 2. My mom died before telling me her biscuits and gravy recipe. They just up and died before telling me. Jerks. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe.